Gibraltar's my government name.
Sweat Equity Podcast.
Yay!
Coming at you. We've got Jamie from Waterloo Washrooms.
That's right. That's right.
Taking a while to get here, but we got him in.
Woo!
Feeling good. Feeling punchy. Feeling a little hungover, even though I didn't drink. That's old age coming in.
The hungover could be the good part, though.
I got my man bun on. You got your coffee tight.
That's right.
Let's get going.
Let's do it.
Sweat Equity Podcast. If you can do us a favor, go on iTunes, pause this podcast right now, pause for like 30 seconds, go on iTunes, subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and then if you're really great, go tell a friend. We don't have many sponsors for this podcast. We do have one, though.
Yeah.
Caleb, you want to... By the way, hello, Caleb.
Hey,
I
Law.
didn't
How
address
are
you. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Urban Resto. If you guys have been listening to the show, they've been a sponsor the past couple episodes. So we really like to give them a nice plug and shout out at the beginning of each episode. If you're not familiar with Urban Resto, go check them out. You can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Urban Resto Furniture, or you can check them out on their website. It's urbanresto.com. They just do a lot of good work in the realm of kind of the industrial chic, farm industrial, handmade furniture. So, I know a lot of you out there, maybe some big fans of Fixer Upper and the Joe and Chip Gaines revolution going on. Kind of think that meets a little more industrial. They can do all sorts of stuff. If you want something for your office, for your home, dining room table, farm table, cabinets, anything like that. So
if you're watching this on, we're posting this on YouTube. We're streaming it live on Google Hangout as well.
Come hang out with us
if you want to see my beautiful man bun in its glory. But it's not the table that we have currently. He's working on a table for us.
You mean he doesn't do molded plastic?
He doesn't do the white plastic table you eat crawfish on.
Okay.
Because that's what we're working with for the last 7 months. I've been saying contractor's house is the worst on the block for too long, kind of deal.
Yeah, but it's true though. It works.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where it's like, can I work on client work or our marketing, or am I going to really work on our interior decor? At the end of the day, what we do at Tokabaga Consulting, Toko Works for short, is it's all in the ether, man. It's mostly digital, so it's all. A lot of people don't even need to come in here. But if you do have a question you want us to talk about on the air on this podcast, we'd love any questions. You can email me at law@tokoworks, law@tokoworks.com. You can hit up Caleb, Caleb, spells it correctly, not with a K. I've seen that before.
Don't give me that K thing.
I don't get that, man. You're not Greek. CALEB@TOCOWORKS.com. Or I'm going to even throw out my phone number.
Do it.
Right.
Let's
you
hear
can
it.
text me a question.
Let's hear it. Get your pins out, people.
813-433-0403. You can text me a question. If I'm not going to repeat it, you can hit the back button 15 seconds if you really, really feel like it. But by then, you've already subscribed to this podcast and told someone about it.
And you've given it 5 stars. And you probably have a question about Law's man bun right now. So feel free to send those in.
Before we got on, before we heated up the mics, we were talking about Caleb's wedding.
Oh,
and this kind of dovetails nicely into our guest, Jamie. Let him know. Let him hear you.
Glad to be here.
Of Waterloo Washrooms.
That's right.
And a lot of outdoor weddings for basically Waterloo Washrooms. I don't know the elevator pitch, so fill in what I miss. But Waterloo Washrooms, basically, it's mobile restrooms, but they're upscale. You're kind of taking a market that doesn't really exist necessarily in the customer service aspect of it. You've got what we call a looper, which is basically not a bathroom attendant, because those guys, it makes you feel weird.
Yeah.
It makes you feel guilty that you're like, oh man, when you walk in a bathroom and there's a bathroom attendant.
Oh yeah.
You're like, shit, I don't have any cash.
Yeah.
But
you shouldn't have to go to the ATM before you go to the bathroom.
He's gonna give me soap. Like I can't even get my own soap to get around him.
And Jolly Ranchers.
Right. And then he's like gonna chalk it up. And then I have this weird thing where it's like, well, I don't carry paper money, so I don't even have any coins, so
Yeah.
this is bad.
Yeah.
And so Waterloo is about kind of changing the game a little bit in that market. Their porta potties will always kind of exist for what is needed there, construction sites, one-off kind of stuff. But Waterloo is more about outdoor weddings, office reconstruction,
Festivals,
festivals,
tailgates.
reconstruction, or film and TV crews. So what did I miss? I'm going really fast. So
No, I think you pretty much covered everything. I mean, it's a market that, for the most part, has been underserved.
yeah,
Particularly in where we are here in Tampa. But there's been a huge boom in outdoor festivals. I mean, every weekend I feel like there's some sort of festival that's popping
Oh, yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And I think people, especially if there's a VIP section, predominantly at those types of events, if you're spending $100 to $200 on a pass to be at an event like that, it's kind of expected that something like this is there, and we're just trying to fill a need. As I said, the market was underserved. There wasn't anybody based in Tampa doing it, and that's kind of how we got started.
yeah. And we were talking right before we got on about Caleb's got a wedding coming up, and
That's right.
this shit. I mean, when you really think about event coordinating, it's not a muscle guys are really great at,
No.
but
No, I'll be honest. I'm not the best event coordinator.
preach.
Yeah.
What I mean, it's one of those things where just simplify it a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
if you really want to do an outdoor wedding somewhere, a lot of venues don't have a facility to handle bathrooms, or let alone like an area before you go out.
Yeah,
You know,
actually-
like for all the bridesmaids.
Yeah.
I've seen it where they're huddled in 10 people in one room, and then they go fuck it, and like 5 of them go have cigarettes outside, and you can see them before they're getting ready.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. So
Yeah, it's interesting because even some of the places where we do outdoor weddings, some of the wedding venues, they may only have 1 or 2 bathrooms on site,
yeah.
and they're forced to come outside and rent something if the wedding is over a certain size number of people. So there are quite a few places where weddings take place very regularly that actually require our services, just because there aren't enough facilities available.
Or you're going the rustic way, and there's like a
Yeah.
lot of older buildings that just can't. The pipes
Well, that's-
can't handle how,
that's
how
kinda-
big we've gotten, man.
That's kind of where we are, because we're in this really awesome theater. I'll give them a little shout out right now. It's here in Tampa. It's called the Rialto Theater. And what this couple did, and it's not a theater, like we're not going to be on stage and people are in seats and there's like an usher with a flashlight. It's not that type of theater, but it's basically a shell of a building that used to be this old historic theater here in Tampa, and a couple bought it and renovated it. They do a lot of cool events. They have like an indie flea market that goes on there.
What's that?
Indie flea is something that was started kind of like your farmer's market, but you take away all the kind of like the target moms that are at the farmer's market, and you put it in like kind of the hands of the hipsters, and it's all a bunch of crafted goods, locally made goods, and it's just a really neat event. And they have that there, and it's cool to see the space being utilized in so many different ways, and it's kind of cool to think that we're going to get married in a place that has so much history, that's been around as kind of in Tampa for so long. But again, going back, they do just have one bathroom for one for guys, one for girls. We're going to fit 200, hopefully no more than 200 people in this building, and something that is just so primal and ingrained in us when we're drinking and eating, guess what? You're going to have to go to the bathroom.
Right.
I mean, it's something that everybody does. And you want it to be adequate enough to be able to, meet everybody's needs. And not just in a way that's, okay, it gets the job done. It more than gets the job done. Enter Waterloo Washrooms. It's something that even when there's existing bathrooms, you can still come in and
Yeah.
you can kind of up the ante.
Yeah.
And that's really nice that something that they're able to provide. So yeah, it doesn't have to just be we don't have a bathroom to use. It just could be we need more bathrooms and we need nice ones. We don't want people we don't want blue porta potties outside of a wedding being like, oh yeah, if in case you guys have to like pee and poop, just use the blue porta potty there. You're gonna really like it.
Yeah, you'll see all the way through to the floor.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Yeah. Be sure to take a selfie in there. Use the hashtag. It's gonna be great.
Right,
So,
right.
no.
You can see what Uncle Frank dropped off before you got in there. He got really loaded last night, and then got taco bus and decided to just go crazy in there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's not you're feeling a gap, and that's like kind of business 101. This was a startup last summer, really, right? I mean, the story I have, and you know this, and it dovetails kind of nicely into kind of talking about how you got into this, is you talked to me maybe in May or June, and I was working with another firm. Tokubaga Consulting didn't exist yet necessarily. And the firm I was with, I told him about, hey, I've got a really good friend of mine. He's got this idea. He needs help on the digital side with a lot of filling in gaps. We're filling in a lot of gaps, like you're filling in a lot of gaps for people that need bathrooms, in areas where they might not have one. And so I remember getting in this like kind of argument. I'm not going to name names or any of that, but I was like, well, wait, do you not just like this because it's a bathroom? And that was kind of the squabble. I was like, this could be a great business. This could be, and now y'all have become our anchor story. When you do a lot of digital consulting, you need like anchor clients that I can point to, and I can go, okay, you can call Jamie, ask him what we've done for him, ask him how quick we were to come up with the branding, and kind of be able to, and still working on being a better communicator on what the digital landscape's like, but also why branding's important, all this stuff. And it's really funny. It's like I ran into the guy that I used to work with, and he was like, how's it going? And I was like, great. You really fucked up. You really fucked up. Like, this would have been a great client. This could have been a huge client for y'all, but you just okay. Yeah. So it was kind of like your Jerry Maguire moment. You're my Rod Tidwell.
So Jamie, let me ask you this. I mean, you guys fill such a great need, with a lot of these different events that go on. But I mean, if you can tell everybody how this kind of came about, and maybe if there is that one moment where maybe you were taking a leak in a porta potty and you're like, this is just ridiculous. And how did that kind of come about? And from there, maybe you can go into kind of how the wheels kind of got in motion with this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess first of all, I've always known that I wanted to, run a business, and I spent the better part of a decade in sales working for some large companies, and it was awesome, made great money and incredible opportunities, but wanted to do something that created a more flexible life for myself and my family. Mm-hmm. And I've always kind of been a blue collar guy at heart. Yeah. And my experience has been in the consulting world and sales. And I kind of found that there was a gap in industries and businesses that are traditionally blue collar, and mm-hmm. that they're not taking a consultative approach to their business. A lot of them wait for the phone to ring. They're not proactive. And I kind of felt that if I could find something that was in an industry that fit that mold, then I could add, as I mentioned, a more consultative approach and kind of a white collar spin on something like that. And it wasn't until last February my brother got married outside, and they had to rent one of these mm-hmm. Restroom trailers, and it was from a company based in South Florida. And I was wondering why they had to go all the way to South Florida to do something like that. And that's kind of what led me to discover there wasn't anybody actually based in Tampa that did this. Yeah. So we did some research and met with a couple of manufacturers that make these trailers mm-hmm. and decided to just jump in. And I think that's when I reached out to Law, and we started discussing the name of the company, branding, and getting the ball moving.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I mean, let me I'm not blowing smoke, but what makes you and your wife, because it's a mom and pop operation currently, as we're recording this, could be different down the line if you listen to this a year from now. But what makes y'all great clients is you go, I know what I know on this side. So you don't have the ego a lot of people have. I deal with a lot of clients now that are like, hey, I've been doing this for 30 years. And it's like, yeah, but you're telling me to give you design that's horrible. You want what you've been doing that worked in the 90s. It doesn't work today. This 3D design you want us to do, it sucks. That's not contemporary. You should go with a flat logo. And they're like, well, what do you know? And then I'm wasting a lot of time. You come at it like I come at a lot of stuff, which is like, if I don't know this, I'm going to ask, which seems like pretty pretty elementary, but
you'd think it's pretty basic.
a lot of people just don't do that.
Yeah, there is a like a little bit of a gap there between people who they may think they know what they want, and maybe they don't, but they'll come at you kind of with a front, like, here's what we want to do, here's how we want to go about it, and it's kind of like, are we making this up as we go? Like that isn't conducive to doing this thing successfully. So the fact for Jamie to come in and be like, here's what we know, we want your help with what you know, and collaborate on that, I think that, hopefully that's a recipe for success, and I think so far it has been.
Yeah, it's what I know how to do is pick up the phone, and ask somebody if I can just discuss my product or service with them.
Right.
And that's really what I am very good at.
Yeah.
And what I was not very good at is the branding and what it is that you do.
And to my business partner Josh Spinar, he does the creative, he does the branding and design, and I had to ask questions when we first started, because I'm like, well, how does this work like this, and how do you see this, and show me your ways. Like, I need to know, like, what's your process? How are you? Because he came up with the branding in like 3 days, which is almost like unheard of for creatives. They're not really on top of the ball. He came up with a name, maybe, or it was the leader in the clubhouse at some point, and did the logo, and the insignia was what was really great. You take the W and the L from the Waterloo name, and he kind of slanted the L on the right side of the W. But then you could also use the W and the M for the women's and men's. And it had a scalability that was kind of unrecognized and unforeseen by me. You know good design when you see it, but sometimes it's really hard to articulate it,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you were like, hey, man, I'm going to handle operations. I'm going to, this is what we're doing. This is the family business, and this is what we're doing. Y'all fill in the gaps on the online side. Tell me what it was like. I think when we first talked, you were like, hey, we got one of these guys coming down from the manufacturer in 2 months. And like, so talk about from the time of the wedding to, I guess, until that first part of your fleet came in. What happened? What happened in that time? I think the idea of this podcast is to really like tell people, hey, you're doing an entrepreneurial venture. It's not really it's sexy in the sense that it's American. You go, I have an idea. I want to do this. I feel like it's viable. I'm going to do it. But what we want to talk about is the pragmatic kind of stuff you learned from idea to getting this going.
Yeah, so I think first I'm going to throw a little quote at you here.
Okay.
And you're probably going to make fun of me for it.
It's probably Bobby Bowden.
It's not. it's not from Coach Bowden.
Okay, Coach Bowden. Sorry, Pastor Coach Bowden.
It's a Thomas Edison quote.
Okay.
And it's opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like hard work.
Did he steal that from Tesla?
I love this quote because it's really what I'm all about. And I know this is kind of a roundabout way to answer your question.
No. I was about to run out of steam. I just kept talking.
As I said, I'm all about blue collar businesses, and if there's a way to add technology to make them more efficient and streamlined and sexier, if you will, then I think that's what can give you a competitive edge.
Yep.
And that's what I saw as one of the main opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
There's really nothing crazy about this business. It's a portable toilet.
Yeah.
But how can we make it look different?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons that I came to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that first couple of months before we actually got the trailers, that's when when we got the website up, and that's kind of when everything was starting to be real. And I spent almost 8 weeks picking up the phone and calling every wedding planner, event planner, festival organizer, joining associations, doing everything I could just to get my name into the community with what I'm doing. With the premise that I won't have trailers until I think it was September 1st, 2015.
And that's something I really admire about this whole process with you is I don't have that good. We all in this room believe that everybody's a salesman. Everybody is. whatever job you're doing, even if it's not in sales, you are a salesman.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
There's a good Harvard Business Review case study about it. It's one of my favorite things I read in business school. But because even if you're you're stuck in some kind of corporate job where you're just doing work for middle management, you're still selling the idea of you doing the work to your manager, improving your value and all that stuff. So there's always some kind of transaction of sorts. I think what I definitely used to struggle with a lot worse, I'm better at it now, is getting out there and grinding and going and meeting people and shaking hands and really developing those relationships and rolling calls. You know, we laughed about it at one point. I remember I worked for an air purifier company. I have to call. I'd wake up, get in Salesforce. I'd probably call about 35 doctor's offices a day. Allergy. Yeah. Real fucking exciting shit. And just roll calls all morning until I was done. And I had to parcel them out. Started in the East Coast. All right, get a little break, and then as it went on throughout the day. Yeah. So I think what's really great about what you've done is you have immersed yourself in a lot of. You go, look, I don't know the event coordinator or wedding coordinator community, but I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. You know?
Well, that's the thing, is that you don't have to be an expert in that.
Right.
And what I knew how to do was try to create a relationship, foster it, and maintain it. And I think that you can apply that to any industry, any business. And if you're providing a service or a product, you know, the goal should be to be able to have the most exceptional customer service. And that, I think that term gets thrown around a little bit too loosely.
What do you mean?
Just customer service.
No, but I'm like examples.
So for me, it's
this ain't radio. We can get long form with it. I agree with you. I just want to see what your thoughts are. I think customer service is often overlooked.
Yeah,
and it really is the beacon of your company.
Well, here's my example. If I work really hard to bring on, say, a big festival or an event that's held on an annual basis, it would be very, very stupid of me to not foster that relationship so that I know that I can hopefully rely on having that event again next year. So to me, the customer service aspect of my business is making sure that everything is done properly, expectations are exceeded, so that I'm developing real lasting relationships with my customers. Because not everybody's going to rent one of these restroom trailers from me, more than once. But it's those big events that happen on an annual basis where there's people who you get to know in this industry, and the goal is to really, really develop something that they trust what I'm doing. I'm almost an extension of their planning and their organization.
Yeah.
It needs to be seamless. So when I say customer service, my goal is to essentially be an afterthought when they're planning their event.
And I think go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to say, I think it's customer service versus customer experience, right? I think that's kind of what customer service has become these days. It's not so much. I mean, there is something to, is this guy going to pick up the phone when I call? In my job, I've had people call me as soon as I've left an office. I've gotten a phone call. Hey, this is Caleb. Hey, you were just in the office. Just want to see if I called you, if you'd answer. Okay.
Oh, really?
Shit. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. I'm always like, because I tell him I have my phone on me at all times. Call me if you need me, a question, anything.
He's like, I call your bluff.
Yeah. He's like, let's call this guy right now.
Yeah.
So I think, but the part of customer experience is two-sided for you guys, because these festivals are your clients and customers, but they have their clients and customers who are the festival goers who are out there getting an experience, and what their experience is like is going to dictate if that company uses you again, mixed with what the festivals, people running the festivals experience is like working with you.
And that's one of the reasons that I know Law earlier mentioned that we have a looper. And so for every one of our events, I have somebody from my staff on site at the event to make sure that, as you mentioned, the experience is exactly what it's supposed to be, and what I've set it out to be, so that everything is clean and perfect throughout the event.
Yeah.
And because you're exactly right. It's the people who are using the facilities throughout the event who are going to really determine whether or not I'm welcome back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just wanted to bring that up with, customer experience versus customer service, and how it's that to me. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. What you gave is that that's what we're people are seeing these days, especially when you're in this kind of you're providing a product, but it's more so a service than a product. So just that experience versus that service is actually probably a little bit greater.
Well, and I think we're seeing a resurgence of, I think you're going to see in the service industries, you're going to see kind of a resurgence of the people who do the business well in the service industry are going to be the people that focus on this. And it doesn't take a lot, it takes effort for sure. I went and Winn-Dixie before I came over here. I was trying to get beer. And you could just, all I could think about, they wouldn't let me before 11 a.m. on a Sunday. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But all I could think about was like, why is Winn-Dixie so shitty? Like, why is this so shitty?
Well, the thing, I mean, I think it's one of it's almost like, I don't know. Winn-Dixie's product, I mean, we have, where we are in the part of the country, we have a place called Publix. And
Did
Publix,
that Dave Matthews Band, because of Winn-Dixie movie, did it fuck it up forever? I don't know, man. It's a deep pull.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's kind of, everything at Winn-Dixie just seems to be subpar, like the product wise and like food wise. Like their meats don't really seem to be that good. A lot of the stuff they have just kind of seems to be subpar. And there's a brand in a market that there's a place for them to play, where it works for them. But you would think having something like that,
yeah,
saying, man, we're a little bit lesser of a store compared to our competitors. The least we can do is sell some beer, to people, do something a little bit different, differentiate a little bit.
And their model is product based. So maybe this isn't the best one-for-one example, but
yeah,
I just look at it, I was like, why are people at Trader Joe's so much more pumped? Take Winn-Dixie out of it. Why are the people at Trader Joe's so much better than the people at Whole Foods? Why are Whole Foods people, I feel like I'm going to get in some entitlement argument because there's a fucking guy wearing a beanie when it's 90 degrees in Florida, and I'm just trying to get some raw almonds and some real fruit.
Just
and
want
stuff.
some skinless almonds,
Yeah,
guys.
I just want some ginger beer and I want to get out of there. But it's one of those things where I feel like at Trader Joe's, they are so much more fired up to be there. They know it's not the best job in the world, but I don't know. That kind of service over the top kind of does push it. I know those are premium on what you pay for their products, but still, how does Publix, a lesser one, how do they get people fired up? And
well, for my business, I have some competitors that essentially travel around and just drop trailers off around the state in the Southeast for events.
Yeah,
a lot of times they're subcontractors through porta potty companies or other major event consulting companies, and there's not a personal touch there.
Oh, we did our market research, and we were like, no one around the country is really doing this well.
Yeah,
no one. It's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key for any business, even if it is a national business, your locations where you have offices need to be involved in the community in some way.
Yep,
100%.
And if you're doing business somewhere, there needs to be some sort of give back to that community. And it doesn't have to be huge, but you need to be involved, even if you're not headquartered there. And I think that's one of the things that makes us a little bit different is our commitment to doing that. I want the community to know who Waterloo is.
Yeah.
Even if we're doing business in Orlando and it's not our headquarters, I want them to know who Waterloo is. And if they don't, then I'm not doing my job. And to be honest, it means that we're not standing out.
Well, one thing I failed to mention at the top of the show is that Waterloo does give 10% of the revenue back into the community that they're in. So,
wow.
That's no small feat.
Yeah.
And while we're kind of cut from the same cloth and the same, we donate our services for a few charities. For Neff Cure, there's one big pig jig event, and y'all were part of that too. Y'all donated your services for that. We donate time for Aquila Institute for Women. Now, it's one of those things. We're also donating. We're also sponsoring Fuck Up Nights, which is an event at the Rialto Theater where entrepreneurs get up and talk about how they fucked up. And it's one of those things where we don't have to do any of that stuff. We don't have to do any of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But it almost in a selfish way for us, we know it's going to be a positive thing, and I'm kind of in that belief that you do a lot of charity. I think it's called psychological egoism, where you're doing it just to feel better. You're like, look at me.
Yeah.
I went to Habitat for Humanity today. Look at I'm a pretty good human. Like,
Look at this guy.
You know, like, and business wise, I think you can have that same aspect. It doesn't matter at the on the other side of the coin. You know, they're still getting the charity part of it.
Yeah.
And so, or whatever is in need. So I think having that, I think CSR's corporate social responsibility has kind of been a fucked out term because it like branding or marketing, it's just so elastic. It can mean so many things, but y'all have that embedded in your business plan like we do. So if we didn't have the Pig Jig or Aquila or Fuck Up Nights, we would probably find another charity and go, hey, let us help you out.
Yeah.
And I think when we started talks about when y'all started up, you go, we want to do this. We want to be involved in our community because it's the community that gives back to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, if we want the community, as I think the way that you just phrased it, we want to give back to the community that is helping our business grow.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously right now that's predominantly the greater Tampa Bay area. But, you know, as I mentioned, you know, if we do and when we do start to get into other, you know, geographical areas, that's still going to be a huge focal point.
Right.
It's not going to change just because we're driving, you know, 70 miles down I-4 to Orlando.
Right. And I've been part of franchise companies and consulting for that, and I tell them I don't think you're going to get a lot of mileage. And this is the douchebag marketing side of it, what I think about it, but it's like, I don't think you get a lot of mileage. Let's say you're a big franchise. You got your phone there, Caleb? Is it?
Yeah, it's working now.
Okay. It's one of those things where, like, if you're Chipotle, I don't think it you could do a national branded charity like Komen for the Cure or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of whoever they donate to. I think you get a lot more out of it if you really go tell every general manager or franchise owner, hey, you're in the Poughkeepsie market. I want you to find something truly for this market, for the community, you know, around within 5 miles of this location, because I want that. I think you get more out of that, and I think the community does too.
Well, and I think that, you know, when you go into a new market through expansion, you know, you're going to be doing everything and anything you can to grow business there. And one of the easiest ways to do that, obviously, is networking with people. And I remember in one of my previous employers, my boss used to tell me, ask your clients what they're involved in.
Yeah.
Just ask them. And that's a great way to get to know them, get to know where their interests are. And, you know, there could be an overlap there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we will and have done in order to help us grow, is just learning where we can make an impact in that aspect. And I think that will resonate, you know, as we do grow. It'll make it easier for us to kind of plant ourselves in new communities where I maybe don't have as many contacts.
Yeah, and if you were gonna, okay, so switching gears a little bit, if you were gonna give advice to anybody that wanted to start up a business, let's say out of college, maybe they're a year or two in to what they're doing, they hate what they're doing, what would you, let's say they're 24, they work in an office job, they don't like what they're doing, what advice would you kind of give?
Well, first of all, I think when you're 22, you think you know everything. And when you're 30, you realize you don't know anything.
There you go.
And at the very least, you know what you're good at and what you probably need to outsource if you're going to be starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
But to somebody, you know, if I look back at myself at age 22, 23, 24, you know, I hated it at the time, but I'm thankful that I cut my teeth, you know, learning how to just pick up the phone and just grind through essentially a phone book, making cold calls.
Yeah.
Because I think it doesn't matter what business you start, you're going to have to try to sell.
Yeah.
And to answer your question about what advice I'd give, it's just not being afraid to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You can't do it halfway.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be all in, and you have to, you know, I keep using the term picking up the phone, but that's honestly what will make every business start.
Right.
You have to make people know that you're there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, so to kind of circle back to something you said earlier, and I have a quick question. You know, you said you didn't get your first like your first trailers with the washroom, something complete that you could put out there and finally provide service with, until September 1st of 2015. When did you start making your calls to companies just to kind of get on their radar and, hey, I don't have a washroom right now, but we will, and I want to introduce myself now?
Well, I think we launched the website on, I believe, July 1st.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah. Okay.
So much stuff has happened since then.
And there was a lot of administrative things that happened to lead up to that point where we felt, getting all of our, getting Salesforce up and running so that I can make sure I'm documenting everything properly, and just the banking and all of that. But, for 2 months, I pretended that I had trailers. I didn't tell people that I didn't have trailers.
And I
yet.
think, and that's something I wanted to kind of circle back around, because it pertains to exactly what you're bringing up now, is that for 2 months you didn't have a product, but you were selling that product and service.
The asset for the service.
Okay, so it's one of those things where, in a world we live in now, where it is so easy and there are so many excuses not to do something, you found, or you just had that drive to, I'm gonna go make this happen. And if they need a washroom now, I'm flattered, and that's a great sign. But hey, we don't have it now. But come September 1st, when we do, man, give us a ring.
Well,
and I think that's invaluable, man. I think that's incredible.
It's you bring up a good point, and actually it happened quite a bit in that first 8 weeks.
That's an amazing problem to have.
Whether it was some events that were happening around that time period, or some weddings or outdoor private parties, I had quite a bit of interest, and there was needs during that time period.
Yeah.
And I told them, I'm so sorry, I don't have a trailer available for that.
The funny thing about that is,
but you know what I did? I spun it.
Exactly.
And I said, well,
and that's what you do in sales.
Let me find you a trailer.
Yeah.
And I had a couple contacts that of some people around the state that do have trailers that I introduced myself to, because I knew that at some point I may stumble across some events that needed more than I had. So I wanted to make sure that I had those relationships in place.
Which to a lot of people that don't have a lot of experience, running sales, running their own company, to me it's almost like a law firm would do. It sounds counterintuitive to go to your competition technically and go, hey, I might need you for something in the future, but I might give you this business right now that I can't take on myself. It sounds insane, but it does come back to help you, because they have coverage issues too.
Exactly.
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier about having more of a consultative approach, and I want to sit down. My goal every time that I meet a new potential customer is to have a discussion about their event, really learn what the needs are, and again, it's just a restroom.
Yeah.
But taking the time to have that conversation and treating it a little bit differently than maybe they expected.
Yeah.
Is what makes Waterloo stand out.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what I wanted to do during that first 2 months, was establish that mindset, and that's why I helped people find trailers, even though I didn't have any. And as much as it sucked to have somebody else make money off of my work,
right?
there was some validation to hearing from them. Thank you so much for, you didn't have to do that. And I think that was, like I said, some validation that our approach to this industry it was working. And
it probably gave you a peek on what other established businesses have been doing for a while.
To be honest, they're just waiting for the phone to ring, and that's what we found as the opportunity.
They're like cops.
They're
not real detectives. They're going out there and doing shit. They're waiting.
And that doesn't mean that some of them don't have good relationships with events, because they just happen to have done them year in, year out. But nobody was as outbound as we were from day one.
Yeah, and it's such a localized strategy for most of the competition. They go, well, we've got this market cornered. No one else can do it. So it makes sense, because they have 99% of the market share wherever they are usually. So it doesn't matter.
And I think, Caleb, you mentioned this in one of your other podcasts about being the guy at a networking event running around handing out business cards.
Yeah, well, introducing yourself with the business card.
Right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely not what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. A lot of it is Law and Josh and Caleb's work, making sure that our web presence was superior to anybody else that would even be remotely close to us in this industry. So that's a huge part of it.
And what I wanted to bring up earlier is like your good customer service. You may not get the event this year because it was too early. You didn't make those relationships yet, but you're going to get it down the line. And just like you're saying about a music festival, hey, I might have coverage. I might have to pull in another guy, but I'm going to be the point man. I'm going to be doing all the administrative logistics. Everybody that I talk to that's an event coordinator with this festival, they're going to have a good experience, and all for their festival goers. And so what I'm saying is good work begets more work. Yeah. And so in that respect, we've gotten a lot of leads just by doing a good, clean website for you. It's brought in leads for us because they'll ask you, who does your website? We don't have to put our name at the bottom of the website, which is fucking insane. Yeah. People, all right? Yeah. People out there, if someone makes your website, don't let them fucking tag it at the bottom. I don't understand that. But anyway, good work begets good work. And you and I have a similar thought path that we're in a service industry, but we're in it for the long haul. This first year is going to suck. It's going to be tough. We're going to probably work more hours than ever. And you've got a newborn. How old is he?
He's just over 7 months.
Yeah, and
that counts as a newborn.
Yeah, is that? I don't know what the baby.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, baby, infant.
Is your car new after 7 months?
Small Babies human, new. Small human. You have to take care of all the time.
That's right.
and so this is you're probably working the most hours you ever have in your life. And I was talking to Caleb about this the other day. It's like I saw a speaker talk about successful people, and I told Caleb every about 6 to 9 months, my stress level, I don't think I can work any harder than I have been, or be stressed out more than I ever have been. And then I'll get to a point, and then another set comes ahead. So I saw a speaker talk about successful people, and they make a motive to I'm going to work on my spiritual life, and I'm going to try to get that to a 10, or my financial, or my marriage, or my family, or our business, or physical. I'm going to get to a 10. Then once they get to a 10, a new set of downs, moving the chains, a new set of football downs.
So, for example, for those of you listening, it's an example could be right now you're trying to get out of debt. Once you're out of debt, the next set of downs is trying to obtain wealth.
Yeah.
Okay, or trying to now
have a savings account.
Yeah, save money.
Yeah.
And then from saving money is making your money work for you. So it's a total new set of downs with everything that you end up achieving.
Yeah, and I think that what I've learned is you can't hit home runs every time you're at the plate. Yeah. You need, in order to keep the lights on in your business, you need the singles and doubles. And when you can get something that's a little bit more substantial, it's just that much sweeter. So to kind of follow up on your question earlier about advice I'd give even myself at 22 or 23 if I was starting a business, and I'm very good at it now, but it's documenting if I reach out to somebody and they say, hey, you know what, we already have somebody for this year, making sure you document that. Because if you wait till the same time the next year, the chances of you actually getting them to use you for whatever product or service it is that you have are slim.
I'm crazy about it.
And I think
I'd set reminders. Hey, follow up with this person. They said, hey, when they say call me in April, I make a reminder immediately. And I think it's almost kind of backfiring a little bit because they think it almost sounds. I think they think I'm desperate on the other side or something like that. And I'm like, no. You told me to call April 1st. I will call you April 1st, 9 a.m. It's one of those things. And then the people who appreciate it, they get it. They understand it.
It's easy to get overwhelmed, and I will say that it was from starting something from nothing. Every day was finding, there was a new rabbit hole to crawl into because there's a new industry or a new territory or new event. So it was staying organized and managing what my day was going to look like for that first 8 weeks before I actually had deliveries and events actually taking place.
Yeah.
That was very, very important. I needed to make sure I documented everything and that includes follow-ups.
Yeah.
I think kind of getting back to what Jamie was saying, in sales, I think it's really important to to be okay, not be okay, but to start with being someone's number two. I think if somebody has a great relationship, they have somebody they're using, it is your job to inform them and sell them on why you're better, what you can provide that's going to help their business, work, more consistently and more efficiently and effectively. But if they say, no, we've got somebody, we're happy with them, I'm not a big believer in the hard sale. I find that people who are more aggressive with their sales, you're going to tend to leave a bad taste in people's mouths, and they're just not going to, they don't want to be around you necessarily. But telling somebody, hey man, that's fine. You've got a company you use. Well, think of us down the road. I'd love to be your number two option, and that kind of gives them reason to still give you a shout and for you to still follow up with them instead of, okay, sounds good. It's like, hey, I'll follow up with us in April. It's like, I'll follow up with you in April, but let me be your number two.
Well, you bring up a good point, and there's a slippery slope that I think when you're starting out a business that you can fall into, and it applies to anything. But it's if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And in a situation like that, especially in a new business where you're just desperate for revenue and opportunity, it'd be very easy to give away the farm. And like I said, live by the sword, die by the sword. If you're not providing any value and you're just coming across as desperate to get a sale.
Oh yeah.
And it could be a hard sale.
Yep.
The way that you got in is most likely the way that you're going to lose that business on the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important, like you said, it's okay to be somebody's number two, and learn how
That's
to.
all Caleb. Yeah. For audio, no.
If anyone's listening, it doesn't matter who we looked at. For anyone watching, and as long as that's the thing, as long as it just gets said and we're having the conversation, that's what mainly matters. So.
Well, if you look at a lot of professional athletes, and they're looking for new contracts, and they know where they stack up against each other, in maybe their position, and they know that if they want the big contract, they know what they need to do to be the number one.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I'm all right now. At least I know where I'm at.
Well, yeah, and I think we have this thing in our mind. Just maybe it's the state of that America's in or whatever. I don't know the underlying purpose, but you're always brought up being, I want to be number one. I need to win.
Mm-hmm.
Winning in business is a very long term thing.
It's golf.
Yeah, exactly. This is not something that you need, like Jamie said, you have to relish in these small victories. You have to hit singles and doubles. Last time I checked, doubles still win baseball games. So do singles. You know what I mean? It's not something. Every game doesn't have to end on a walk-off home run. Okay, every game's not won a home run.
I'll take Ichiro.
Yeah, I mean it's
all day.
It's just one of those things that you have to come to grips with, and you have to understand that while you may have a conversation that you didn't walk out of there with a sale, you may have walked out of there with a sale down the road. Okay, and we don't know the future. You can't see the future, but you've got to believe that, right? You've got to believe that you've put yourself in a position to succeed. Maybe not today. Maybe you didn't walk out of there with that sale, but who knows what's going to happen in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Hopefully you're going to be at that festival. Hopefully you're going to be, contracted with that wedding planner, even though you're not right now. So I think everything you do matters. And it's tough because a lot of people, they just say, oh man, well, we had a crappy month. You don't know what's going to happen next month. You don't know what your P&L is going to look like, in the next quarter. So it's just one of those things to keep at it and understand you have to have those small victories to move forward.
Well, yeah, and I think, y'all know this as running businesses yourself. It can be a very lonely,
good Lord,
type of situation because you really don't have a team.
Start talking to volleyballs with faces painted on them and shit. It's
your work is, and what you put in is what that's what determines how well you're going to do.
And we would meet every Wednesday until we couldn't either. But it kind of worked out. Both of us just got so busy, but it was cathartic to go, hey, I had this idea. What do you think about this? And we'd spitball ideas to get Waterloo to that next level kind of thing. And you noticed something when you were talking to people. The website was supposed to be our sales advice, right? But so many people are old school that they want that piece of paper. They want something tangible in their hand because they don't believe it if it's just a website. You're just a new guy, new person in their face. So it's like, we got to get a folder. We got to get some elements to give to them to leave behind. Like a chick that hooked up with you, left something behind on purpose. Be like, hey, my sweater's there.
Dirty girls.
Never happened to me.
Well, I
My
think
roommates, yes.
I think traditional marketing is traditional, called traditional for a reason, right? It's because it's been around, it's proved the test of time, and it continues to work.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a newer age company, but reverting back to paper. There's companies that do really, really well with their advertising of just having a sandwich board outside their storefront. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's a little more that they do, but to a lot of people, I mean, those calls that you're making, whatever works for them, you need to be ready to provide.
Well, the marketing part of that is like you're going to do 15 different things.
Yeah.
5 of them are going to be traditional, 10 of them were digital. That's how we kind of had it set up, I think. And so I
think that's a good ratio.
But the percentage of the business coming in was mostly from Jamie getting out there and shaking hands.
Yeah.
Now, what you can't really track is when they go on the site that everything's clean. So it has to give that overall feel, and everything matters.
Yeah.
That's out there publicly.
Well, I can be involved in every organization in the city. But if somebody comes to my website and they can't figure out what it is that I do, or it looks like crap, then it really, they're not going to really trust that I can provide a service that I've been telling them I can.
Yeah.
So, that's the big thing, and that's what I knew I needed help in from the beginning, was making sure that in an industry that's just toilets, my website created this image of something that was just different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the reasons. I'll encourage anybody, if you Google portable restroom trailers, you'll find some websites. Some of them look good, but you'll see what I mean.
Not many.
Yeah.
Not many. We looked at a lot. I try to find a lot outside of the Southeast, just because sometimes if it's a local business or a local startup or something, I'll go, what is a company in Seattle or San Francisco or Denver doing?
You look at those larger markets.
But more like smarter cities. I'm not like, what's Fresno up to? I'm like, what are the more progressive cities doing with this stuff? And there's really, it's funny. There's a big gap, and it's almost nervous too, because it's like, well, shit, we realized something great here. They got to aggressively move, and that's where we'll probably end this episode, and then have you back. Who knows? 3, 6, 4.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask Jamie to kind of wrap things up a little bit is, if there is a potential client out there listening, or a customer of a client, someone who maybe is going to a festival or going to a wedding, what's something you want them to know about Waterloo Washrooms, whether they're thinking about using you guys as a service, or if it's somebody who's actually physically taking a whiz in your restrooms. What is something you'd like people to know about Waterloo?
What about the guy I caught was like, he didn't know I knew anything about Waterloo when we had the Pig Jig Festival. It was like country concert. And this drunk guy comes in. He was like, man, these things fucking awesome. Like, this is so goddamn cool. Like, it was so funny. I was like laughing my ass off, taking a piss. But yeah, what would you tell someone, a potential someone?
Well, I guess first of all, I spent a lot of time researching what manufacturer of these trailers to use, and that was a huge part of the initial startup time. And I found what is the industry leader, and they're actually a startup themselves. It was a guy who worked for a big company that makes various types of trailers for multiple industries, and he saw a need to create something that was newer and fresher and more contemporary, and that's what he's done. That company is Jag Mobile Solutions out of Gary, Indiana, and they're a really cool company, and their products are the best on the market. So, to answer your question, I can stand here and tell anybody that I know my restrooms are the nicest, most luxurious restroom trailers on the market. And
that's powerful to be able to do.
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
But that's what I was willing to pay for, is the comfort knowing that I know that nobody has nicer restrooms than I do.
Right.
Based in Tampa.
And that's going to be reciprocated in the experience that the customer's getting.
Right. Because I can't be there to spray cologne on people and
hand out now and laters.
So, it has to be something that everybody walks in is wowed. Yeah. And I knew that the only way I could do that was buying the nicest one available, because that is my image. That's my branding.
Yeah. I mean, that's a standard that's set high, and usually, it's something that I don't want to, go with a quote or anything, but if you set your sights high and you don't hit your sights that you've set, at least you're still up there, right? If you fall a little bit short, you're still up there. And that's one of the things I think that's important. And it seems like you guys are hitting those standards that you've set for yourself. And I think it's awesome. I think the whole idea of having a luxury mobile washroom for people and restroom for them to use is something that it's one of those things when you hear about it, you just kind of sit back and you're like, God damn, you're like, how the hell did I not think of that?
Well, what we could have done is go find a couple of used trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that would have been obviously much cheaper to start out.
Right.
But then we would have been in a constant battle over, how nice they are and trying to, prove to people that they're nice when they clearly weren't.
Yeah.
And we just wouldn't have had the image and branding that we do.
I think
Or at least it wouldn't have matched what we've created from the branding side.
Yeah.
And I thought that was extremely important to make sure that was the same across the board.
The customer experience needs to be kind of similar throughout. It can't be like, well, I saw a different one. This one was good. The one you gave me, I got a lemon.
It's not like flying American Airlines. You get a plane from like the 70s or 80s. You're like, what the? Where are the new planes at? It's all the same across the board.
There needed to be consistency.
Yeah.
And there's I know that there are quite a few companies out there across the country that, when they go on their website, they have a picture of their quote unquote fleet, and a lot of the pictures may not even be
that's not what
their
shows
trailers.
up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's absolutely not the case with us.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a pretty good place to leave it at for this episode. And I know we've loved having you on. We'll have to have you back.
It goes by quick, man.
Yeah, but where can people find you guys? Where can people find Waterloo Washrooms?
It's www.waterloowashrooms.com. WATERLOO Washrooms. You can find us on Facebook as well. And as we are in a kind of a scaling and growth phase.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be doing some new stuff with some other
stuff we can't mention, but that's why I was saying maybe 3, 4, 6 months from
that's
now.
why we'll have
you
on.
back and kind of go back and see from right now what has transpired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We want to give another shout out to Urban Resto, who is our show sponsor. Jordan Long with Urban Resto. You guys check them out. It's urbanresto.com or facebook.com/Urban Resto Furniture. Give them a look if you guys are looking for some good quality furniture, either a farm table for the dining room, a desk for the office, or you've got an actual office or a restaurant space that needs tables, that needs cabinets, that needs any kind of woodwork. Make sure you check them out. Show them some love. Show us some love. Go on iTunes, subscribe, tell a friend, 5-star rating. And that pretty much wraps it up. Law, you got anything?
That's it, man. If you made it this far, go out, reach out to a friend that you've talked to that's like wants to do a startup, doesn't know how. And I'm saying just go, hey, check this podcast out.
Yeah.
And then follow up 3 days later because it's all about follow up. That's kind of what I got out of this episode that reminded me about that. But follow up with them a couple days later. Hey, did you get to listen to that? And see if they did and see how.
And if they didn't, you just give them a flare chop to the chest and woo!
Boom!